Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one place for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. MiHoYo, developer of the groundbreaking JRPG title Genshin Impact, celebrated breaking records. Among the gifts received by the employees are GPUs, Apple iPhones, and PS5s. Meanwhile, Walmart gives their employees a pizza party. Biden lied is trending on Twitter. Did you guys really think that Joe Biden would be the first politician in the history of humanity to not be a lying sack of shit? Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Last night during a basketball game, LeBron James of the Lakers got in an altercation with a woman. This resulted in the woman being ejected from the stadium. Honestly, this is the most interesting thing that has happened in basketball in over 30 years. Elon Musk has inserted Neuralink into a monkey, enabling it to play video games, meaning that next time you say, "Hey bro, a monkey can play better than you," that might actually be true. Last story of the day, I'm sure you've noticed Nihilistic Nerd has been putting up less TikToks. That's because I'm either battling depression or long COVID. I'll be back tomorrow. Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I'm your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Charles Xavier is stepping down from the CEO position of Amazon. I don't really have anything clever to say, I just wanted to laugh at the bald guy. Nintendo has allegedly canceled a Legend of Zelda and Star Fox movie by Netflix after leaks. Thank God, because Netflix adaptations just fucking suck. Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Kraft has announced a candy-themed mac and cheese for Valentine's. Not gonna lie, I love mac and cheese, but no. No! The highly anticipated mod for Fallout New Vegas, The Frontier, has resurfaced on modding websites. The mod was removed after having some fetishy type stuff on it, but it appears to be back online. Though some of the content is missing, and some of the modders and people working on the project have distanced themselves from it. Seriously guys, foot fetishes. Foot fetishists are weird. Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Sega has announced another cartoon about Sonic the Hedgehog. This time it is a CGI animation called Sonic Prime. That name is fucking terrible. Also, Sonic isn't even cool anymore. He hasn't been cool for years. CD Projekt Red is advising against modding Cyberpunk 2077 at this time. There has been a backdoor found in the game files. Of course, CD Projekt Red was aware of this, but neglected to tell us until a community member came out and told us, "You are supposed to be the most consumer-friendly of the devs and publishers. Why are you being such dickheads?" Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Kroger has recently announced a program to give every employee that receives a COVID-19 vaccination $100. Here's an idea, why don't you pay your employees a living wage first? After several failed attempts to copyright the Nemesis system, Warner Bros. Interactive has finally managed to do so. I, for one, wonder what arguments Warner Bros. Used to persuade the judges to give them that copyright. I don't know. Do you? Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I'm your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Activision Blizzard has announced that they have multiple remasters planned for the year 2021 and beyond. It's good to know they're working on something besides the Call of Duty remaster we get every year. I couldn't find a good Activision Blizzard logo, so I just grabbed the picture of their Green Goblin looking CEO. Gorilla Glue Girl, the genius that put Gorilla Glue in her hair, is looking to sue the creators of Gorilla Glue. You realize this is the reason why we have caution lids on our coffees at Starbucks, right? Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. BioWare has announced that they will be removing some of the more spicy scenes from the Mass Effect Trilogy remaster. However, they're going to be keeping the full-on sex scenes in there. What the hell happened to BioWare? Oh yeah, it was EA. If you like Powerpuff Girls, I have terrible news for you. The CW has ordered a live-action reboot of Powerpuff Girls. In this live-action reboot, the Powerpuff Girls are portrayed as adults that are quite salty that they had to spend their childhood fighting evil. This just sounds like a terrible idea. Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Stardew Valley version 1.5 has finally launched on consoles. In this update, you can play co-op split screen with your friends or lovers. If only I had friends or lovers! Millions of gamers were ecstatic to hear that Kingdom Hearts is finally releasing on PC. Those same gamers were equally disappointed to figure out that it was only launching on the Epic Games Store. Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Japan has unveiled yet another massive mecha statue, this time from the popular series Neon Genesis Evangelion. So the Japanese get a moving Gundam in a really cool Evangelion statue. Meanwhile, the only cool statue we have in America is 1,000,000 years old and can't even move. Or doesn't even have guns in fiction. Come on. It appears the hackers that got into CD Projekt Red's systems have sold the source code for Cyberpunk 2077. Maybe someone can take that source code and make it good. Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I'm your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook are under fire for causing yet another outrage. This latest controversy is caused by Facebook pretty much silencing all of Australia. I foresee people still using Facebook. After all, he sold all their data a couple years ago, and people still use the platform. During yesterday's Nintendo Direct, it was announced that both Pyra and Mythra will be playable characters in the next Super Smash Bros. DLC. While it's great to see Xenoblade getting some more representation, it's a shame that it's coming from the worst game in the franchise. Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. The Zodiac Killer Ted Cruz is under fire after going on a vacation to Cancun, whilst his state and country gets butt-fucked by an ice storm. This is the same asshole that closed down a beach to spend it with his family. What a fantastic use of his state-given powers. There was a special Jersey Shore episode yesterday. Apparently people still watch trash like Jersey Shore. Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I'm your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Oh boy, Twitch did a blunder again. Yesterday during the Metallica concert portion of BlizzCon, Twitch played 8-bit music over the Metallica music. This was an effort to avoid DMCA. Honestly, I would much rather listen to 8-bit music because Metallica just sucks these days. Fantastic news if you like Diablo and Overwatch 2. Both were announced during BlizzCon yesterday. Where's my StarCraft? Where's my StarCraft, Blizzard? Pardon my shameless self-promotion, but I do have a video of my live reaction to the Overwatch announcements. The link is in the bio. Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Earlier this week, Valve was issued a subpoena by Apple. Apple believes Valve's financial information will help them with their lawsuit against the Epic Games Store. Valve responded by telling Apple to eat a fat one. The intellectuals of Twitter believe Peter Griffin will be in Fortnite. I'm so done, guys. I'm so done. You know what? If they put Peter Griffin in freaking Fortnite, I will play Fortnite. As a joke. Fuck Fortnite and fuck... Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I am your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Several news stations have reported that Lady Gaga's dogs were kidnapped. Also, apparently the guy that was walking them got shot, but they don't matter because Lady Gaga's dogs got kidnapped. Daft Punk, the electronic band most known for making a song that has simultaneously less lyrics whilst being far more quality than Nicki Minaj's You a Stupid Hoe, has broken up. This one actually kinda hurts. Good morning and welcome to yet another episode of Today in Terrible, your number one source for human depravity. I'm your host, Nihilistic Nerd. Pokemon fans are finally getting their dreams realized with the announcement of the new game, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Hopefully it doesn't turn out to be shit though, right? We really can't do another Sword and Shield, can we? James Charles has admitted sexting minors over Twitter. Okay, if you're a content creator, all you have to do is not sext your fans. It's that easy. It's that easy.